And if you pay any attention to our station whatsoever, you have heard the news that has come down. Michelle had put her 2 weeks in, and her last day will be this upcoming Wednesday. So there will be no final edition of Michelle and Junnie with Michelle and Junnie. For here on out, it will be me and Nick. But for this week, while Michelle is still here, this show still will be Michelle and Junnie. So for the last show, I wanted to kick it off, and we're gonna have a little something for Michelle on Wednesday, but just wanted to go on air and on our show in particular that we've done for around the past year or so, and just thank Michelle and all that she's done for us too, especially. And going forward, we wish her nothing but the best, and she will definitely be missed. So, but a lot of stuff going on in the sports world, and I want to kick it off because LSU and Florida will start their 3-game series in the College World Series tonight. But LSU and Wake Forest, Nick, I don't know if you got to watch much of that series.
That was a fun game. That felt like the national championship.
Every single game they played, because they played when they were both in the winner's bracket, and because Wake Forest took that one game, LSU had to go and play Tennessee again. And then because they beat Tennessee, matched up against Wake Forest again in that 3-game series. And, man, that even that first game that LSU kind of pulled away a bit early, it was still down to the wire. And then this last game where it was basically an all-star pitching battle between Rhett Lauder and Paul Skeens. 0-0 had to go into extra innings. And what happened in extra innings, Tommy White was the hero. We have the audio here of the 11th inning walk-off, Tommy White sending LSU to the College World Series final.
Walks it off, and the LSU Tigers will face the Gators in the finals.
There it was. That was the audio from the game. Tommy White walk off in the 11th inning to give LSU the 2-0 victory. Our own David James, Caroline Fenton probably were shaking in their boots on that one of just pure excitement, but I mean, excellent baseball. I mean, this time of year can be boring for some sports fans, Nick, but getting some awesome baseball like we've seen in the MLB and in this college baseball playoff run here in Omaha has been awesome for a lot of sports fans that really kind of tune out this time of year. So what were your kind of takeaways watching that series?
I tell you what, that was one of the most exciting baseball series I have ever seen. And there's no true way to encapsulate just how awesome it was to get to watch it. But at the same point in time, I kept thinking to myself, these pitchers, like
they're crazy.
I have a soft spot for these guys after getting to know a lot of pitchers on the hill, literally at Western, just getting to know a lot of those guys, what their bodies go through, how they prepare for it. And now you see what these guys are doing in the College World Series, and you have nothing to do but feel for them, and you go, wow. And it's a 2-run shot to end the game, and you ultimately are sitting there like, damn. Like, that happened. Like, wow, storybook Cinderella ending. If you ask me, for LSU, nothing could have been going any better for them aside from the Jello shots for them. They are dominating in that category as well. Caroline was talking some about that yesterday before we wrapped up our show, doing our Take It to the Bank, brought to you by F&M Bank. Little plug there, obviously, here on the weekend for that. But I do think when we continue to see Go Tigers going up against them Gators, dude, we're going to have one hell of a final, and I'm so excited for it.
Well, yeah, and Florida kind of got the easy side of the bracket, really.
They really did.
They kind of steamrolled their way to the finals, and LSU really had to go through a lot of hardship. You know, playing Tennessee twice, going through Beam. I mean, they did not have the pitching matchup in that second game, and it was an elimination game for them and the Vols. You know, loser goes home, and they wind up getting the dub. And you know, honestly, for me, watching and paying attention more to college baseball probably than I ever have this season, just with how good the SEC has been in general. How storybook of an ending is it that the SEC, with how dominant they have always been in football, how great they were in basketball, probably the best basketball conference, and now you have 2 SEC programs in the College World Series finale. I mean, it really goes to show you the athletic dominance of this conference, and really – I think this is the matchup that everybody wanted to see when the brackets come out. I mean, bottom line, whether you love them or hate them, LSU is the most fun baseball team to watch. I mean, they're like Barcelona soccer.
Well, they've been making it more fun with the Jello shots, that's for sure. But look, I think
they're stampeding the Jello. They're lapping all these schools. I don't know if you put all the schools and their Jello shots together, does it add up to what LSU has
Dude,
done?
I don't. That's a great question. I'm sure maybe Caroline, friend of the show, if she's listening this morning, can maybe total that up for us and tell us, because she was dropping that real fast yesterday. But I believe they were leading by like 2,000 yesterday.
Only 2,000?
I
mean, earlier in the week they were
might
like
be more.
They're leading by a lot more.
I thought it was like 10 grand.
It's around like 31,000 for the Jello shot tally, if I'm not mistaken. I'll double check on it. But that's kind of where I saw last.
Wow.
Sheesh. Now look, now I was maybe being a little generous, making sure they didn't get called out for being the Bayou people that they are. But look, I think it's just so funny to see them having a fun time. And, honestly, and here's the biggest thing about it, all joking aside, the money goes towards something great. It's for charity.
Yeah.
I don't know what specifically for off the top of my head, but I do know that it's going towards something good. Everyone's there having a good time. Doesn't necessarily mean everyone's going under the bleachers and, just passing out in the stands watching this fabulous game, this wonderful pastime of a sport. But Junnie, I know that we want to get to our morning brew here more or less too. So, Frazier, hit it, baby. If you can, maybe. We'll see. But we want to bring this back. Go ahead.
Taking you around the sports world for the biggest headlines. This is the Morning Brew.
Just like Nick said, we are getting into the morning brew, kicking off with LSU and Florida that we just recapped. But in the major leagues, Nick, a story that has been dominating the headways here has been the Cincinnati Reds.
I know. You don't want to talk about it.
I don't want to talk about the Cincinnati Reds, but I got to be honest. They're the hottest team in baseball.
They are.
And it's so frustrating to say that because they've been a debacle for the last decade with my Pittsburgh Pirates.
Junnie.
But what? No, go ahead.
Look. I think it's completely warranted that you feel this way. But you have to remind yourself that the Pirates are doing a lot better this year, too.
No, they're not. They're on they just broke their 10-game win streak. They were in first place in the NL Central 2 weeks ago.
Well, what I'm trying to say is
now they've just fallen off a cliff.
They're playing better than they did last year, right? In some parts,
right? When you lose 100 games every year, man, I mean, it's not that much to ask to play a little bit better.
So they're getting a top 5 pick once again, right?
I don't know about that. They're going to be more.
Say top 5.
They're going to be more middle. They're going to be more middle of the pack. But honestly, if they're going to suck, I'd rather them suck. You know what I mean? They got the number 1 pick, so they're either going to get Paul Skeens or Dylan Cruz from LSU. But back to the headline here. Listen, this isn't about the Pittsburgh Pirates. This is about the Cincinnati Reds because they are playing great, and they called up Elly De La Cruz about 2 weeks ago. And what did he do? He was the first MLB player to cycle since when, Frazier? When was the last time this happened?
I believe 1989 or something like
1989.
that. 1989. Don't quote me on that. I'll double check real quick.
So me being the baseball novice that I am, I didn't even know what a cycle was until this happened. So he singled, he doubled, he tripled, and homered at 4 different at-bats during this game. So
it doesn't get better than that.
Yes, quite difficult to do.
So we're gonna listen to Elly De La Cruz last night against the Atlanta Braves, an 11-10 victory, and he made history last night by doing the complete cycle at bat.
Reds team is going to have a lot of scoring opportunities. De La Cruz, right center. Down base hit. Could he go 3? India around third. India scores. It's a cycle.
I love that audio.
I know, it's
Love that
amazing.
audio.
Now, here's the deets. So Frazier, I kind of maybe have beaten you to it, but I think if you got something else, let me know. But the 21-year-old headliner just absolute went off last night, obviously. He becomes the first Reds player to do so since Eric Davis on June 2nd, 1989. It's exactly what he did last night, which is baffling. Baffling to me. Now, just to give you some more context, too, not that long ago, the Reds were playing in front of 7,000 fans back in April.
And sold
out. They sold out last night.
And they not only last night, but they've sold out today and tomorrow.
As they should. They're 41-35 now. They're playing the Braves right now, who are 48-27.
They were last in the division
I
like
know.
2 weeks ago, and they
I know.
bring this kid up, and all of a sudden they are just red hot. Joey Votto comes back, and now the Reds are red hot.
So on top of that, too, he's the 5th youngest player to ever hit for a cycle. He's become the youngest player since 1901 with a cycle and a stolen base in one game, in the same game. He's the first Reds player with 10 extra base hits and 7 stolen bases within his first 15 career Major League Baseball games. Insane.
He's and with the 2 weeks, and again, this is very early, and pitchers are going to start to figure out some of this guy's tendencies eventually. But he's batting at 361.
Yeah, and by the way, too,
it's ridiculous.
Joey Votto's back too. Remember, he was out for a while. He actually played against the Sounds earlier this year too, which was kind of funny. I was at that game. The second pitch he saw, he smashed it.
Yeah,
smashed it.
And it wasn't that to open up the season?
I believe it was against the Louisville Bats.
Yep. All right. Well, so big stuff going for the Cincinnati Reds. You know, obviously, with it being summertime, we're going to have to keep an eye out on this team because, honestly, with the Braves and how good the Braves are, we know that they are a genuine contender. But, you know, with all that being said, like, watching this Reds team do what they're doing, it's really entertaining. It's great baseball, and it's a story that we're going to have to follow up on.
But really quick, too, let's throw this in there, too. This is probably where you were going.
Okay.
But I'm going to go through it kind of quick here. The Ally 400 is obviously today, right?
The Ally 400 is tomorrow.
Tomorrow, but our very own Chase McCabe, he is the track announcer there. He's the PA, so stay tuned for that here on 102.5 The Game. We'll have you covered all weekend. I heard him last night driving over to Cedar Brewing in Lebanon, just listening to that last night. But I think the more appealing thing to me was Victor Wembanyama getting picked first overall and just the emotion that he had the other night, Junnie. And seeing our very own Ben Shepherd out of Belmont get picked, too, to the Pacers, that was really cool, too.
Now, that's the first Belmont first-round pick ever, right?
Yeah, I want to say he's the second, I think. There's been 3 in the modern draft era, I want to say.
Okay.
But I think as of late, he's making a lot of headlines in Nashville.
Still really, really big. NBA draft I think this was one of the better NBA drafts in a while. So, but yeah, Brandon Miller from Alabama winds up going number 2 of the Charlotte Hornets. What is the name? Scoot Henderson?
Yes.
He went to the Portland Trail Blazers, and because of that pick, I thought he was going to go number 2. And I think because he fell to Portland at 3, that Portland's now thinking, okay, with this guy, maybe we keep Dame and start building around this young core.
One thing I don't like, really quick, and then we'll go to break and we'll talk about our Tennessee Titans here in town. So one thing I don't particularly care for is how players will get picked and then they'll say, oh, a trade's happened. You're actually playing for so-and-so now. And I'm like,
I don't like that in the NBA either because you get them on stage and they have a hat.
Yes.
I remember when Donovan Mitchell got drafted, and you know me, I'm a big Louisville basketball guy.
Right.
He got drafted. It was by the Nuggets, and so all of his pictures are with Nuggets hats, and obviously he got traded that night to the Utah Jazz. And I don't know. I think that's so weird, and I don't really watch the MLB draft. I only really watch the NFL draft and the NHL draft, but I don't know. I find that odd with
it is definitely very, very strange, Junnie. But Without any further ado, we are going to hop into something we've been talking about all week. So
Everybody's been weighing in on this.
Yeah.
Everybody's been talking about, are the Titans and Jags, is the gap a lot as big as the national media saying? Well, I stayed up all last night doing a breakdown of each positions, and we are going to get into the offense and defense for the next 2 segments between the Titans and Jaguars roster. What do we think, and how far are these two teams apart? You are listening to Michelle and Junnie here on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
We are Nashville's best sports talk, live and local from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. When you want the national
Hey. I got this. I'll take it from here.
Okay, go ahead. Dying to hear this.
We have the best national voices that you'll find anywhere.
Who was more deserving of being thrown from their game?
I'm odd, so I get the odd picks.
They have a new coaching staff.
It's not a bad scenario for them.
We are 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
And 94.9 The Fan.
The Electronic Express 4th of July sale is here. Celebrate with up to 40% off in every department. Don't miss an LG 75-inch 4K TV for only $699, $599, or a Napoleon Freestyle Grill for $549. Get up to 3 years free financing throughout the entire store. Electronic Express. We make it happen.
Because we work so hard for our customers, people are driving for hours to shop at Genesis Diamonds right now, taking advantage of the lowest interest rate on the planet. 0 interest for 5 years with nothing down. How about a $6,000 GIA certified diamond for just $100 a month? Pear shapes, rounds, even oval diamonds are all included. You can even finance the sales tax. All designer jewelry and all lab-grown diamonds included. Don't miss this amazing opportunity. 5 years, 0 interest financing, exclusively at Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs. Approved credit, see store for details.
Are you drowning in credit card debt? Want to get cash out of your home's equity? Loan Pronto can do it now in less than a week. Hey, Willie Donick here. That's right. Loan Pronto's Equity Express line of credit just got even faster. You can get $50,000, $100,000, even $200,000 in as little as 5 days. You don't even have to touch your primary mortgage. You can keep that 3% rate intact. Get just the money you need and pay off all those credit cards or get that home improvement project started. With this revolutionary program, you can access up to 90% of your home's value, and in most cases, there's no appraisal. Stop paying insane interest rates to the credit card companies and get tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars in cash in as little as 5 days. Call Loan Pronto now for the even faster Equity Express line. 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780 or go to loanpronto.com. 615-499-5780. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
We try to stay cool by being on social media.
I'm with it. I'm hip.
Follow us on Twitter at 1025 The Game and on Instagram at 1025 The Game Nashville.
Hey!
Oh, yeah, and like us on Facebook, too. This is Michelle and Junie.
Really? That's fantastic.
Presented by Superbook Sports on 1025 and 1063 The Game and on the Game Nashville app.
Yeah. I would say the offensive line. I think that's the biggest area. You look, they lost a couple tackles, one to suspension for a good portion of the season, and Juwan Taylor, he went to, I think it was Cincinnati, but he left regardless. So they're going to have 2 new tackles in place, and I think, if I'm Arden Key, if I'm Danico Autry, and even Howard Landry, once he comes back, I'll be licking my chops because now I'm going against 2 brand new starters, and I think it's a good opportunity for them to get to the quarterback.
That was TD earlier this week on the station talking about the Jaguars' one big weakness, and that could be potentially their offensive line. He talked about Juwan Taylor. Juwan Taylor actually went to the Kansas City Chiefs and not to the Cincinnati Bengals. Orlando Brown Jr., the Chiefs tackle, where Juwan Taylor wound up going to Cincinnati. So I think he got a little mixed up there. And also left tackle Cam Robinson, who's probably their overall best offensive lineman in Jacksonville, is suspended for 6 games for taking some PEDs. But before we get into this breakdown, this Monday through Wednesday, Music City welcomes a week full of events featuring the NHL Awards, 25th anniversary concert, and NHL Draft. Fans can enjoy this free party featuring live music, red carpet walks, games, alumni autographs, food trucks, activations, and more. Don't miss this incredible week of events starting Monday as the Preds celebrate their 25th year as a franchise. For more information on the Nashville Predators, website at thenashvillepredators.com. So, last night, Keezer, I could not sleep whatsoever. Sorry, Nick and Nick. I always get you guys mixed up. Sorry about that. But
the Knicks at night.
The Knicks at night. So I went through because this conversation, I heard it on Robbie and Rex Road. I heard it with Jared on Stillman and Company. I heard it on your show with Caroline Willie and D-Mays.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody was talking about the gap between the Tennessee Titans and Jacksonville Jaguars. So because I could not sleep last night, I went through every single basically, positional category and listed out the players, kind of gave them my own little 1 through 10 rankings, and I did a bunch of math. So for the next 2 segments, we are going to completely break down how these two teams match up against each other.
Now this might be Junnie's
position.
This might be just like your whole Junie fever, like, hey, I'm staying up late at night, I'm bored, I got nothing else better to do. But this is good. I'm excited to hear this.
So let's start with quarterback.
All right.
And I know we've had this conversation personally on
this
show. I give the edge to Trevor Lawrence.
Yes.
And I gave him an 8 out of 10.
Yes.
I gave Ryan Tannehill a 6 out of 10.
A 6?
A 6 out of 10.
Okay, now look, to our listeners on the weekend, this is obviously something Junie's gauging for himself, so this is his scale. But I think, look, I'm not going to completely disagree with you by any means, but you already know we've already had this whole discussion, but I think it's fair. Now, which position are you going to next?
Running back.
Okay.
So at running back, I got Derrick Henry as a 10 out of 10. So he is a 10 out of 10 player.
Of course you should. Maybe he's a 12.
And I will say this. Out of every player in every position, Derrick Henry was the only 10 out of 10 out of both rosters.
Okay.
Travis Etienne, I gave a 7 out of 10 as a young running back.
I think he's pretty good. I think he was fun to watch.
He is, but he's still young. He's still got some ways to go.
Do you think he grows to an 8 or a 9 this year?
That's the potential.
Okay.
I was kind of pondering that. Because I see Trevor Lawrence right now as between a 7 and an 8, where Ryan Tannehill's between a 6 and a 7.
Yeah.
The only reason I have Tannehill at a 6 is because, the offensive line is so unproven, don't really have the depth at wide receiver.
Sure.
So I just said with this roster, he's between a 6 and a 7 because of the unknowns on the offensive end. He's more of a 6. And I think that's fair. It's not necessarily on Tannehill. Travis Etienne, 7 out of 10.
Okay.
Compared to Henry, who's a 10 out of 10.
Okay.
So the wide receivers.
All right.
I got Calvin Ridley, 8 out of 10. I got Christian Kirk, who had a 1,000-yard season, was their number 1 last year. I got him as an 8 out of 10. And Zay Jones, I did the top 3 receivers. He was a 6 out of 10. He was a solid receiver. I think he had 700 yards last year. Pretty good. For the Titans, Treylon Burks, 7 out of 10 because of how unproven he is. We expect him to take a jump. So I got him at a respectable 7 out of 10. Could be higher. Kyle Phillips, 5 out of 10. Chris Moore, he's more of a 4 out of 10. Okay? Tight ends, Evan Ingram, 8 out of 10. Chig Okonkwo, 7 out of 10.
Okay.
And to wrap up the offense here, I didn't go through every offensive lineman and rank them. I don't know how particularly good. I got a range. So I basically kind of rounded it up as a unit. As a unit, I have Jacksonville as a 6 out of 10 because, like TD had mentioned, that's kind of their one weak point on offense.
Right.
But I got the Titans a 4 out of 10. I'm not sold on this team. So
sure.
we're gonna kick off this segment offense only, where the Titans and Jaguars compare.
Okay.
And so right now, I don't think that anybody would argue that the Jags offensively are significantly better than the Tennessee Titans. Would you agree?
I would say so, and I think Trevor Lawrence is going to make it better for sure. That's where I am with all that. Now, in terms of, we're on D-Hop watch, and we're over here, and we know what we're bringing. When it's ultimately going to be smash mouth football, right? That's what you're going to have out of the Titans ultimately too. But when I'm thinking of the Jags, when I'm thinking of what they're capable of as well, you also have a guy, Calvin Ridley, that needs to step up this year too. And if he does, that's phenomenal. If he gets to, that's what I'm going to be looking for. But when I think about the Titans wide receiver room too, I know you're not asking me about the Titans yet, but what I will say about the Titans wide receiver room is I think it's not where it needs to be for obvious reasons, right? So I know Derek alluded to this earlier this week, and so I don't know if we want to hear what he had to say, but what I will tell you in SparkNotes version is essentially that, okay, well, this room is not trash, okay? Just remember that. This is not trash. Now, people...
And I think that's from an NFL receiver.
It is.
You know, he knows the work that it takes to get to the league. He knows the dedication that it takes to just to be a professional athlete in general. And these guys, in order to make it to the NFL, you have to be the best of the best where you come from.
And you also have to be at your best personally. That's where I think you can't mix those two, Junnie, is these guys need to be at their best personally. Now, whether that's going to meet the standard for being a good wide receiver room, that's where you, as a fan, are going, yeah, they're not that great compared to, you know, the Chiefs, the Jets, or whoever else is better. It's like, oh, Nick Westbrook-Akina, Chigga-Conquo. Why is Derrick Henry catching everything right now? You know, that's what everyone's thinking sometimes. And when you have those thoughts, it's, okay, this is a problem for us right now. And they aren't great. They are not great. But the room that you and I have had on this program to say that they can get better, and it's a matter of them capitalizing. You know, a lot of these guys have one more season under their belt, albeit that's something that you have to wait and see if it actually matters or not here in the next few weeks, basically, before camp starts, is are they going to bring that juju in the camp? Now, not literally Juju Smith-Schuster, but you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I think it's important that if these guys come into camp proving that they're capable of having a better season, and Vrabel could see that early on, that's the most important thing. Now, I know you want to get to some more grades for sure, and some more questions.
Well, I did the average of all. So I also added, I didn't mention this through my list. I did the number 2 tight ends as well, because those are going to be main subs. So I put Josh Wiley, a rookie. You know, he's a 5th-round pick. Don't really know if he's going to necessarily do much. I know he has to work on his blocking skills and his receiving skills, so he's very undeveloped at the time, so he's more of a 2 out of 10. The Jags also drafted a tight end, and he was either a 2nd or 3rd round pick. I can't remember.
It was a 2nd.
Brenton Strange. I got him as a 3 out of 10.
Was he one of the first tight ends to go off the board?
No. This was a tight end heavy draft.
It was. I was just trying to remember.
Because there were so many that came off in the first 2 rounds. I mean, I'm talking like 10 tight ends. Like that's a huge anomaly. So, but just to round out on the offense with my grades that I gave personally, the average grade for the Jaguars offense was a 6.7.
Oh, okay.
The average for the Titans, on the other hand, was a 5.6.
So they are close.
So this is kind of like figure skating rankings here. They're not going to be super high. You know, obviously the Jags, they might potentially have one of the better offenses in the league, but you know their offensive line, the suspensions that they have going there, I'm a little bit concerned with how they might start. But a 6.7 still isn't that bad of a score. But coming up next, we're going to break down a side of the ball that might favor the Titans a little bit more. And is the gap really as far as I really thought? I'm going to also lay into the cumulative score of the entire teams that I came with. And to be honest with you, I was a bit surprised with how it winded up. You're listening to Michelle and Junnie here on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
All the big plays.
And we are done. Vandy 24-21.
All the big stories.
I'm sure Vandy will be a much better team if Clark Lee is the coach.
All in one place. We are Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3.
What a stop by UC Sarah.
Then he wouldn't end up on my team.
Driving his way to victory lane.
I think that's the right strategy.
The Game and the Game Nashville app. The NFL offseason is in full swing, but you'll never miss any of the big news. Thanks to Yahoo's Charles Robinson.
They know that there's a chance that they're going to have to deal this guy.
He's one of the best insiders there is.
All of a sudden, he becomes a functional player who we thought was just trash.
Join Charles Robinson every Thursday morning at 8 on Robbie and Rex Road, presented by the NFL Alumni Association on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Tonight, Sounds Baseball is celebrating Hit City Saturday with live music and dancing at 5:15 under the Guitar Scoreboard. The first 1,000 fans will take home travel blankets with a map of historic North Nashville. Make sure you get here early for all the family fun. Visit NashvilleSounds.com for tickets.
This year, come out for a little outdoor fun at Land Between the Lakes, only an hour and a half northwest of Nashville. They have over 170,000 acres of forest and wetlands on a peninsula in western Kentucky and Tennessee. Hiking, camping, fishing, kayaking, canoeing, outdoor learning, you name it. Land Between the Lakes is where you want to be.
Get up close and personal with wildlife at the Woodlands Nature Station. Take a scenic drive through the elk and bison prairie. Visit the 1850s home place working farm and see what life was like over 170 years ago.
Plan your adventure at landbetweenthelakes.us. Krebs Kubota wants to help you get your job done right with the parts you need and a service department that can handle maintenance and repairs from the largest excavator to the smallest two-cycle engine. For your farm, home, or commercial needs, Krebs Kubota will keep your Kubota running like a Kubota. Krebs Kubota, Middle Tennessee's preferred equipment dealer, with convenient locations in Columbia, Franklin, and Murfreesboro. Also online at KrebsKubota.com.
This is Michelle and Junnie.
Well, thank you so much.
Presented by Superbook Sports on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and on the Game Nashville app.
Welcome back into Michelle and Junnie. You can watch us streaming live on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook live every day. Our video streaming is brought to you by Superbook Sports. Download their app and use the promo code THEGAME. Getting back into the conversation between the Jags and Titans, and is this roster truly as separated or as lopsided as the national media has laid out for us?
Also, shout out to whoever just texted our text line with one word.
Jam.
Yeah. What?
I have no idea. But we do have another texter on here. No name.
Yeah, brought to you by WilsonCountyHundy.com. So
it's all on the Titans O-line. If they can let Tannehill drop back like a QB without running for his life, Burks, Chig, Phillips, and NWI can catch the ball. It's all on the offensive line for the Titans.
I think that's pretty fair, but at the same point in time,
I don't know. Look, it's all on the offensive line. Like, come on.
Nah, like I think what they may be trying to say here.
The text line is now all texting in jam. 615-737-1025, driven by WilsonCountyHundy.com.
Look,
jam is the word of the day.
If Schmuckers or something doesn't sponsor the show at some point now, then because we're not jamming, then something's wrong.
Yeah,
so.
right. I mean, this is a breakfast trending show. Like, we have our friend Dominique. He calls us every morning on Saturdays talking about how much
my guy.
He loves this breakfast. Shout out Dominique if he's listening right now. But yeah, he calls us. And
I don't think Dominique
for
listens.
Breakfast.
Yes, he does. I ask him every week, what does he eat for breakfast? It's bacon, eggs, a little bit of sausage, some pancakes. Today it was oatmeal, so we're good.
Oh, okay. Diverse diet by Dominique. But anyway, let's get back into it. So we basically ran down and talked about the comparisons between the Titans and Jags on offense. Clear cut that the Jags are a much better offensive team. Their cumulative score was a 6.7. Titans was a 5.6. So let's get into the defensive end where, that is more of where the Titans are favored in this matchup. Let's start with the defensive line.
All right.
I have the Titans defensive line up and away much better than the Jags. Really, the Jags' only good player on the D-line is Devon Hamilton, the big guy in the middle. I got him at a 7 out of 10. The other guys, Follow Runzo, Fet. I don't even know how to say this guy's name. Never even heard of him. But Fatukasi. I don't know.
You sound like you're trying to
Fatukasi. I don't know how to say his name.
What's his first name again?
Follow Runzo.
Okay, I'm going to do my research.
Either way, so Titans defensive line's much better. I got Jeff Simmons, 9 out of 10. Danico Autry, 8 out of 10. Tierra Tart, 6 out of 10, but he can move up. So inside linebacker, I think this is actually one of the one spots that the Jags have over Olakun. He had a really good game against the Titans last year. He was up and coming. Devin Lloyd, he was probably the best linebacker that came out of the 2022 draft.
Okay, so just to go back for half a second. So the Jags actually have him listed as Foley, just so you know, because they probably don't like saying his first name.
Yeah, right.
But I would say his first name is Folorenzo Fatuski. That's what I would just say.
Okay. Sure.
We'll just let it go.
Fadukazi?
Fadukazi. If you are on the listen, I know the text line's blowing up with jam right now. Like we literally got like 5 texts of jam. 615-737-1025. If you know how to say this guy's name,
just
spell it in like Leighton's terms. Like
sure.
Like spell it out for me so that I can read this.
But
correctly.
anyway, let's not get fixated on this, but the Jags defense compared to the Titans defense, as far as potential goes, I know you probably you did grade the overall defenses, correct?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
So basically, the only 2 positions that I have that are ranked higher for the Jags compared to the Titans are inside linebacker and outside linebackers. I think the Jags with Josh Allen and Trayvon Walker. Josh Allen has been a pretty consistent edge rusher. I wouldn't say he's elite, but he's very good.
Yeah.
Trayvon Walker was just the number 1 overall pick, just got through his rookie year last year. I think he's going to take a step and be really good. The questions at edge for me with the Titans are, is Harold Landry going to come back and be that double-digit elite pass rusher that we saw in 2021, or is it going to take a while for him to get back? I think it's going to take a while.
I think it will too. But I think at the same point in time, if he is going to come back and play better, then it's going to be significant. But I think it's also going to be, and having injury in general, when you come back, you have to get used to yourself again. And I think the more reps that there are between now and the first game of the season, that's going to be crucial. I think for any sport, obviously, when you're trying to come back, you want to make sure that you feel comfortable. But under the same breath, I have to say you need your own confidence too, because it's all about how you feel personally in your own head too. It's going to be more of a mental game too.
Well, it's just being an outside linebacker in a 3-4 scheme. Like you have to be one of the most versatile athletes out there.
You
like
have to be.
You're a guy that has to stop the run.
If you're not,
rush the quarterback, and also meanwhile drop back into coverage when you have to.
Yeah,
like you have to be able to do everything on defense.
And if you can't, you're going to get bullied and you're going to lose a lot of traction in that area of the gridiron, because if you're not out there committing to plays, more or less committing to yourself to be better than what you are thinking about, then you're going to be dead, buried, and gone, as Nick Saban says.
So I definitely think that they have a advantage at outside linebacker. Inside linebacker, like I said, Olakun and Devin Lloyd are much better to me than Azeez Al-Shire and Monty Rice. Azeez, he's closer to those guys, but again, he was more of a rotational piece in San Francisco. So I just feel like the linebacker position is the one edge on defense. But let's get into the secondary, because the secondary genuinely surprised me. The safety position, not so much, because Kevin Byard and Amani Hooker are both really, really good players. Rashawn Jenkins and Andre Sisco, they're like meh. They're like meh. Like they're okay. They're not great, but they're okay. And so that was not a surprise to me. But for the cornerback position, I was kind of surprised when I had the Titans cornerback group rated higher than Jacksonville, because Jacksonville last year was more of a middle-of-the-road secondary when it came to the stats, and obviously the Titans, with their injuries, they were the 32nd ranked passing defense in the league.
Man, it was rough, but it was rough for a good reason, obviously.
Injuries.
Yeah. Now, being the most hurt team in the last 2 years is definitely a hamper on any facets to your game, and making sure that they're also available week after week after week. And if you're not, then your team is going to be way behind of where it actually should be. And in terms of that, if you're thinking about it in the grand scheme of things too, it's you're not giving yourself the chance to know who you really are too. And that's what I feel like the Titans are lacking a lot of, is they don't necessarily they don't get to showcase what they're all about. They know what they're all about, because that's what I feel like Vrabel expresses almost every press conference, what they're about, what they're trying to do. And I feel like that is the most frustrating thing as a coach or a player, is I know what I'm capable of, but I haven't been able to do it. And it's so hard and infuriating at times that you can't do that, and you're at the professional level. So that's something you have to consider just from an outside perspective looking in, is I know this team has not been good the last few years, what it should look like. Okay, but now this is all part of the story. Some great teams, they all have these issues, Junnie. Now, maybe not to the same extent. Everyone's story is different. But in the grand scheme of things, that's how I'm thinking of it. And so that's why this division is so open, if you ask me.
And we'll get into the final tally here in a minute. But you know, with Christian Fulton and Roger McCreary and Sean Murphy Bunting, and even throwing in Elijah Molden in there, you know, those are 4 solid corners that, if they play to their best capability, that's really going to turn the tide of this defense.
Absolutely.
Because when it comes down to it, you know, the front 7 is the strength of this team. It's what keeps them in games. They control the line of scrimmage on that side of the ball. And the one thing that has exposed them was their secondary. And when Christian Fulton is out there, I mean, there are certain games where he plays like a genuine elite cornerback number 1.
No question. And if he's out there and he's executing that way, and he's challenging these wide receivers, you know, if he's able to step up on plays, and more or less, he needs to be one of the smartest players on the field too, whether it's drop back coverage or if he's on man, you know, all the way up on that line. He has to recognize where he's going to be on the ball, and he needs to know what is coming at him. But that's what I feel like he's done really well, Junnie.
No, and I agree. And you know, certain games that he missed last year. The only game that they got torched when he played last year was when they played the Philadelphia Eagles, and obviously we know the narrative as to why they got torched in that game, and also. In that matchup, I thought the whole A.J. Brown shoving off Christian Fulton, I thought that was offensive PI. And I thought that was a horrible miscall. So, I mean, you can go to that and say, you know, Christian Fulton's not all that, but, you know, in every game he played, I mean, it was a significant difference in the secondary.
Yeah.
So, an X factor for sure. But coming up next, we're going to kind of wrap up this conversation between the Titans and the Jags. We're going to also bring up the Colts and the Texans and give my final tally for the ratings and how the end-all, be-all, the final total actually genuinely surprised me. Is the gap much closer than what I and some of the national media actually think? We're going to get into it next. You're listening to Michelle and Junnie here on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
One is a legendary NFL wide receiver.
I gotta be prepared. I have to be ready.
One is a legendary Nashville voice.
You don't have to rely on carrying the ball 250 to 300 times.
And the other has been a legendary trash talker on the playground since the 4th grade.
Nobody is a Pro Bowler on day 1 of rookie minicamp.
They are Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace. Weekdays at 11 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey guys, this is Mike at Newton Ford in Shelbyville. Did you hear the news that we're awarded as a 2023 Dealer of the Year out of all 4 dealerships in Tennessee by Dealer Rater, where real people write real reviews about their car dealership experiences? Yep. That means we got the most 5-star reviews from customers like you over the past year out of all the 4 dealerships you could choose in Tennessee. We're proud of our reputation, but you've got to check it out for yourself. So if you want a smooth purchase of a brand new Ford or pre-owned new-to-you vehicle, we're here to help make that happen. The best part is, you can start this entire process online with Newton FastPass. That's right, no phone calls or waiting on the lot. Start shopping right now by visiting newtonford.com/Newton-FastPass. That's newtonford.com/Newton-FastPass. Come see us in Shelbyville, just a short drive from Murfreesboro, to see how we can smooth out the car shopping experience for you.
For more than a century, AM radio has evolved to meet the needs of our community. In their car, at home, or on the job, more than 80 million listeners depend on AM radio each month. AM radio is also the backbone of the emergency alert system, which keeps us safe in dangerous times. It's reliable, free, and public safety depends on it. Text AM to 52886 and tell Congress we need AM radio in cars. This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters.
Catch all the NASCAR action this weekend on 102.5 The Game, Nashville's racing station, brought to you by Richmar Florists. Catch the action Friday with the NASCAR Truck Series, then Saturday the NASCAR Xfinity Series, and the Ally 400 Cup Series Sunday. Richmar Florists, Pennsylvania built, Tennessee strong.
Hear that? That's Jeff Anderson. He's that guy in your neighborhood that's always making improvements to his house, his car, his yard. On your street, it's about keeping up with the Andersons. One thing you don't know is Jeff's tools are from Harbor Freight. Tools at great prices. That circular saw right there, you wouldn't believe the deal he got. Just think, when you're keeping up with the Andersons, you're saving money. Whatever you do it for less at Harbor Freight.
94.9 The Fan is your home for Hit City.
Your Nashville Sounds continue their 6-game series at First Horizon Park tonight against Norfolk. Swing and a miss, strike 3. Sounds win. Pre-game at 6:20.
On your home of Nashville Sounds baseball. 94.9 The Fan and The Fan app.
This is Michelle and Junie.
Really? That's fantastic.
Presented by Superbook Sports on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and on the Game Nashville app.
Welcome back into Michelle and Junie. Junie Riddle, Nick Keyser in for Michelle Knesvik this weekend. Wrapping up our conversation, we spent the last two segments comparing the offense and defense of the Jacksonville Jaguars because, listen, this whole conversation has just been kind of generalized on our station. And so last night, I wanted to do the due diligence of breaking it all down, looking at all the positional groups, where the Titans have the advantage, where the Jags have the advantage. And so my final tally came down to this. So Jaguars' offense incumbency was a 6.7. Titans was a 5.6. Defense for the Jags ended up being a 5.9, whereas the Titans' defense ended up being a 6.5 on my rankings. And again, this isn't saying like, oh, they're a 6.5. That's like a failing grade in school. Like, no. Like I feel like a really good team would be in the mid sevens, like even maybe high sevens. Like, so you got to be ultra elite in all categories to do that. So, but we're going to do our final score. But we got Adam from Portland on the phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. He wants to weigh in on this Titans-Jags conversation. Adam, how we doing this morning?
What's up, Junie? Hey, Nick. Hey, y'all sound wild talking about this makes me – it's so cringy, dude. Like, I feel like it's only because everybody sucks in our division. Like, if you're say you're not a Titans fan, say you're not a you're just a third party, 30,000 feet looking at that game in Jacksonville, looking at that 2-week span for the Jaguars. We all know what happened in that game, man. There was a 30-second review on that fumble by Josh Dobbs-led Titans. And, I mean, instantly confirms if they didn't do that, man, I don't know if we win the game, but everybody that was in Duval that day knows what happened in that game. And then the following week, you get down 4 touchdowns before you can blink. Like, I know you won the game, but the Jaguars aren't special. And I don't know. I can't keep hearing it over and over again and just keep my mouth shut because I'm like, they're not great, man. Like, if our offense is even competent, then we should be division favorites because our defense is going to be better. Our best defensive player that we threw $90 million at tore his ACL before we even started. Like there's a lot of stats, and y'all are crushing. I love that you broke everything down. I appreciate that as a fan listening, but at the same time, I'm like, these guys are phony, man. Like, I like Doug Peterson. You got a good coach, but everything else about them is trash. They've never won back-to-back division titles. I'm not a Jaguar guy.
Okay. Adam from Portland weighing in, and this is a good segue into my final tally here.
Yeah.
Because I went through, gave everybody a rating, calculated it up, did the whole average, and I was shocked with the final result.
Okay.
And here's the final result. overall score for the entire team, and this also includes kicker and punter that I added in at the bottom. Jaguars were a 6.3 on their average. The Titans were a 6.1. And I have been one, to Adam's credit here, I have been one that has said that there is a significant gap between these two teams. I have preached that. I have said it oftentimes. But after doing this, and after really diving in and looking at all the intangibles of each depth chart and who plays where and who has the advantage where, the gap is not that big.
I don't think it is either. And when he says that the Jags aren't that special, now, historically speaking, every time we go down there in Jacksonville, they whoop on the Titans. Let's just be honest. Like, most of the time, I would feel like growing up watching the Jags play the Titans, I thought this is going to be a good game, or it's going to be a close game and Jacksonville might win. That was how I felt growing up watching the two-tone blue every single time they played in a divisional contest. So with that being said, now I don't disagree with you, Junnie, whatsoever, and I think that part of the grading makes the most sense. And I think, it could be the easiest thing to take a look at, I think, currently. At the same point in time, I think there's more room for the Titans defense to crush it as opposed to maybe the Jags defense. Now,
for sure,
when you think of those things too, it's all right, execution, what they gonna do out there on the field. It's like, all right, cool. We gotta think about it that way too. So I think the way that the Jags, and I think Adam brings up the exact point where I was going with this, is you look at what they did to the Titans, and Chase even said it this week too. The Titans lost that game. Now, they had Josh Dobbs. That was on them. Yes, it was a 30-minute review, it felt like, or at times in the moment, it felt really long. It was a quick review. That's what lopsided the game there, but the Titans still lost their own game there.
Can I say one thing about this?
Sure.
And this is brought up a lot. And again,
yes, it has.
I am moving towards the argument more or less that the gap might not be as far as I had once previously thought.
Sure.
But if I'm being real here, last year's game means absolutely nothing to me.
Yeah.
Like, they could have played the following day, and the Jaguars could have won by 14 points, 20 points. It's a different game every time these guys step out on the field.
Yeah.
And it's like if the Titans and Jags had played the following day when the Jags absolutely routed them at Nissan Stadium with Ryan Tannehill, would it have been different the following day? I would have argued that I might have picked the Titans to win that game. It's different every single time. And so when people bring this up and bring up last year's team, it's a new team.
Yeah, it is a new team.
It's different players. It's Trevor Lawrence going into year 3 with Doug Peterson and anticipating him taking that next step. Adam brings up a good point. They've never won the division 2 years in a row.
Yeah.
But this is something that they've also never had. They've never had a true franchise quarterback like they have in Trevor Lawrence that everybody expects him to be. And he showed signs of becoming that elite caliber quarterback that he was supposed to be when he was drafted at the tail end of last year. And they have a Super Bowl winning coach in Doug Peterson, which they've also never had. They've never had that combination of quarterback and coach. And when you look at teams that have that combination in the league, you're talking about your Bills, you're talking about your Bengals, you're talking about your Chiefs. That is the formula to win games in this league. You have your franchise quarterback and you have the coach to go along with them. And I just think going into year 2, we have to think that Jacksonville is going to take a step up with getting a Calvin Ridley.
Absolutely.
With Evan Ingram being in this system. Again, Christian Kirk being the number 2 now. Another year with Trevor Lawrence. All these guys are going to get better. Travis Etienne, we brought it up. I think as of right now, he's more of an average running back.
Yeah.
But where he was a first-round pick, he didn't play his rookie year.
Not really.
And
nope.
this is really his year too. So this team legitimately could take off offensively if they wanted to.
They certainly could. And there's every reason in the world why they should be a better team when you just even think about it and all of those facets that you just went over. That's exactly what we've gone over for a long time here on this station, especially when it's in concern to, okay, this is what they could do, And this is a situation where they have their guy. They have pieces around him. What do the Titans have? Now, long-term wise, I would feel better about Jacksonville than I do the Titans for those reasons that you listed. But when I also think of the amount of experience the Titans have here in Nashville, it's the really one true guy I felt like at the time that could have turned the franchise around, and obviously it went nowhere, was with Marcus Mariota. That was the one opportunity I felt like, all right, this could be the guy. This could be something that we could do. We could build around him. And I think they had some okay seasons. Not everything was picture perfect, and they got Taylor Lewan coming in, and everything was going well for a while, and you could kind of see their plan coming into action. But now I feel like we're almost hitting refresh on the computer and going like, all right, what's next? Like, how else is this going to look this year now? Like, that's the way I'm looking at it, honestly, Junnie.
I'll end the segment with this, that when I look at matchup wise, we talked about key position groups.
Right.
And when it comes to quarterback, number one wide receiver, having your franchise left tackle, although theirs is going to be on suspension, edge rushing position, I just feel like the Jags have a leg up in those specific categories.
Yeah.
And when you look at the matchup in general, this is an offensive league now. This isn't a defensive league like it has been for the last 20, 30, 40 years.
Right.
The Jags have a potential to be one of the NFL's premier offenses this year if Lawrence can take another step forward and this offensive line can get decent protection.
Because we saw what they did in those last few games of the year, too. They were on fire. He had the best QBR rating in the NFL. He had the best ratio he had the best touchdown to interception ratio out of any quarterback to end the season. It was phenomenal. We have an unnamed texter on the text line that does bring up an interesting point that we can get more into later. But Simmons and Arden Key going to get home to Lawrence. They absolutely can. That's capable. But like Junnie just said, this is an offensive league. This is going to be dominant by how often can you score, how effective can you drive down the field, even if your kicker gets those layups. Look, that's the way that they're going to beat the Titans over the grand scheme of time, and the Titans have to capitalize on that. So
absolutely. So great conversation on the Titans and Jaguars. We're going to switch over to the Predators. The NHL draft is going to be here this upcoming week. We're going to talk about prospects. We're going to talk about potential trades and what the Predators need to do during this retool to get back into a competitive franchise. You're listening to Michelle and Junnie here on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
At Nashville Superspeedway, Chase Elliott wins.
The NASCAR Cup Series is ready to invade the Music City June 23rd through 25th. We have you covered for the LI 400 with driver interviews, reports, and all 3 days of racing. It's presented by Richmar Florist, family owned since 1955. Learn more at richmarflorist.com. We are your racing station, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
This year, come out for a little outdoor fun at Land Between the Lakes, only an hour and a half northwest of Nashville. They have over 170,000 acres of forest and wetlands on a peninsula in western Kentucky and Tennessee. Hiking, camping, fishing, kayaking, canoeing, outdoor learning, you name it. Land Between the Lakes is where you want to be.
Get up close and personal with wildlife at the Woodlands Nature Station. Take a scenic drive through the elk and bison prairie. Visit the 1850s home place working farm and see what life was like over 170 years ago.
Plan your adventure at landbetweenthelakes.us.
When you want live and local.
If they were just better at the offensive line.
You can be a contender in the AFC again.
They've had more winning seasons than not.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game has you covered. Looking for some national programming?
Why do I want to get a running back like that 5 more years? The AFC now is so deep at quarterback.
Check out 94.9 The Fan. Nashville's home for all things sports is 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and 94.9 The Fan.
Heart failure, carpal tunnel syndrome, shortness of breath, stomach issues, lower back pain. How does it all add up? If you have heart failure and any of those seemingly unrelated symptoms sound familiar, it's time to talk with your cardiologist and get the full picture. They may add up to transthyretin amyloid cardiomyopathy. ATTR-CM is a rare and underdiagnosed disease. Recognize the signs and discuss them with your doctor soon. Learn more at connectwithyourheart.com. That's connectwithyourheart.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Upgrade our diamond ring this summer with no money down and 0 interest for 5 years. Don't miss this killer offer from Genesis Diamonds. 5 years, 0 interest financing. Not just on engagement rings, earrings, bracelets, bands, colored gemstone jewelry, pre-owned Rolex watches. Buy now, pay nothing down, and spread your payments over 5 years with 0 interest. So that $5,000 gift comes out to just $85 a month. And that luxury pre-owned Rolex Submariner, Datejust, or Explorer starts at only $150 a month. Now through July 1st at Genesis Diamonds. Green Hills and Cool Springs. On approved credit, see store for details.
Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne. Broadcasting on Alexa.
I appreciate that.
And other smart speakers. 102.5 and 106.3.
And a score!
You can run different offenses.
The doors on the board.
Off the field, on the field.
The Game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Discussing the big sports stories of the weekend. This is Michelle and Junnie. With Michelle Knezovic and Junnie Riddle. Presented by Superbook Sports on 102.5 and 106.3. The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Welcome back into hour number 2. Michelle and Junnie Riddle, Nick Keyser filling in for Michelle Knezovic this weekend. And this is gonna be a thing for here on out. Michelle is moving on down to New Orleans. She's moving on to bigger and better things. And Keyser is going to be doing the show with me on the weekends from 9 to 11 for here on out. So make sure to tune in.
The Mighty Tops will be rolling on now forever here in Nashville, Tennessee.
We got to think about like show names. I was thinking like maybe since we are both Hilltop.
All right, look.
Top of the morning with
hey,
Junnie and Nick.
I don't know about that. So we can definitely save more of our conversations for off the air. I think that would be pretty funny to think about.
I want to get the listeners involved. I want text line going 615-737-1025.
That's not a bad idea either.
615-737-1025.
You can all okay.
Driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com.
Yes,
text
sir.
in show names, potential show names for Nick and I's show.
So,
since he's going to be
and
taking
also,
over for Michelle.
now the text line's not something we'll check as frequently on the weekend after we get off the air. So please tweet at us. You've also got, Junnie. He's at Junnie Riddle, his first name, last name. You've got me. It's flip-flopped. It's at Keyser Nick. And if you even just want to tag the station in it too, we'll always check that as well. So tag at 1025 The Game if you have any other ideas. But Junnie, what's up?
No, so we're going to get into the Nashville Predators and the NHL draft. But before we get into that, tune into Nashville Sounds Baseball tonight at 6:35 p.m. on 94.9 The Fan. The Sounds take on the Norfolk Tides, AAA affiliate of the Baltimore Orioles. Mm-hmm. They will wrap up their series against the Tides tomorrow at 2:05. Sounds Baseball on 94.9 The Fan is presented by 312 Pizza Company, Farm Bureau Health Plans, and Family Leisure.
And better yet, go to the games. They played phenomenal last night.
Were they on like a winning streak or something?
So they swept the Gwinnett Stripers last week.
Baby Braves.
What put a damper on it and what just watered it down literally was all the rain coming in earlier this week, and they had canceled the first game. They played on Wednesday, a doubleheader on Thursday. That was a split. So it was kind of tough for them. I only know that because it's the dog days of the summer. But the Sounds are awesome. They are a wagon. Go cheer them on. Go crush some hot dogs and beers over there at First Horizon Park. It's always a good time. Jeff Him is also fabulous, so give him a listen too over there on 94.9 The Fan. It is a wonderful time, but what's even more of a wonderful time, Junnie, is for the first time in 20 years, the NHL draft is here. But what's the cherry on top for me that I'm really excited about going to is the awards on Monday too. Mm-hmm. And one thing that's unique is, I hope to go to this, is a lot of the nominees for these awards, they're going to be made available to the media prior to the awards ceremony. So that's going to be fun to hear from them, but also seeing who wins what, that's going to be awesome as well. But then the draft starts on Wednesday, and we'll have all your coverage here on 102.5 The Game. And I know for myself, I know that I have looked at this first round class as far as I can possibly look into it. And then also, too, there are some guys down the stretch, too. And just for context sake, I've brought it up during the midweek. So the Preds have 26 picks over the next 3 years, so keep that in mind. I do firmly believe, and Barry Trotz said this yesterday, he did bring up the fact that they would be interested in trading up perhaps in the top 4, top 5. So that's an intriguing aspect to me. He also brought some more merit to a report that I was working on this week about the RFAs. More to come on that, obviously. But what's really enticing here is the draft. And I know I sent you something that Scott Wheeler wrote over on The Athletic, so we can take more of a look at that. Now, who could be available at 15, Junnie? And so I don't know how much you've truly looked at it as well, like me. I know you and I, it's NFL over here. With me, it's with hockey.
This makes us a great combo.
Absolutely. This is what makes this town great, along with some other sports. Shout out to NSC, so many other things as well. But I do want to go ahead and hear from Barry Trotz before I want to hear from Junnie and I talking about who is appealing. But this is Barry Trotz, I believe, with Chase McCabe talking about elite traits.
Big swings. We got 13 picks. We've got 2 in the first, 2 in the second, 3 in the third. Is taking swings at players, as I said to the scouts, I would rather you swing for the home run than take a safe player, meaning a safe player who's going to be, a third-line player, fourth-line player, but is definitely going to play in the NHL. I'd rather you take a big swing on a player that maybe, there's a couple players that are, either have, high-end speed or lightning speed or high IQ, but maybe can't skate, have, 1 or 2 qualities that maybe give you doubt, but have some elite skill.
Okay, so this is what we know with Barry Trotz talking about big swings. That's what he's challenged his staff to do, Junnie.
Yeah.
So I want to throw some names over here at you. And I know I sent you this article, so I want you to give me your own thoughts too. Now, I know for me personally, and I know that working with Nashville Hockey Now as well, I've also come out with our own mock draft over there too that will be coming out soon. But Gabe Perreault is someone that I like him a lot as a winger, and I think he would be very appealing to the Nashville Predators just based on the merit that he's a really good goal scorer. The Preds are going to need some more goal scoring, whether it's from the centerman or on the side. What's more appealing to me, as opposed to maybe Gabe, is his teammate Oliver Moore. If you're going to go get a centerman, and if you trade up, if he's there, he might be someone you take higher up maybe than 9 over here in Tier 3, as Scott Wheeler has it on The Athletic. That's what we're using. And if for some reason, if this guy does not fall to the, if he doesn't get picked in the top 3, if the Preds can somehow trade up and go get him, that would be phenomenal. I think he was going to be more or less the number 2 behind Bedard, and maybe Michkov as Adam Fantilli. That's someone that you want to go after really fast. If you can't get Adam, go get Leo Carlsson. He had a phenomenal year. He's also another centerman. He's a Swede. How Swede does it get? The Predators traded away Matthias Ekholm, so they're kind of lacking in that category. So I do want to see them perhaps go get someone out of country that has that experience as well. But also, if you want to look at 24, the Preds also can package all of this. They can move wherever they want. They're very flexible. And Trotz was also late coming on with Chase. So not saying there's anything to it, but there could be some merit to him with some meetings, trying to figure out what's available, what can I do. And so on defense too, if they want to move around, I think Axel Sandin Pellikka is a phenomenal prospect on defense. He's a right-handed shot too. That's really hard to get early in the NHL draft. Is a really solid defenseman, like someone that you could go look at and say, yeah, he's going to be a top 4 defenseman here in the next maybe 2 or 3 seasons. So as far as the Preds' sake, that's going to be the most intriguing thing to me. I think one of the biggest storylines going into the draft is going to be Michkov. Is he going to fall? Is he going to go in the top 3, top 5? If he doesn't, Barry Trotz just said it earlier when he was on 102.5 The Game yesterday. if the Preds move up inside the top 5 or close to it and Michkov is there, I know he's a Russian guy, but look, I think he could be a huge guy for the Preds. And Barry Trotz wants those elite goal scorers, playmakers that make the fans rise out of their seats and see all of the goal scoring that comes out of this big market now. You want to add guys like that. That's the most appealing thing to me, at least. I think he's the biggest prospect out of Russia since Ovechkin.
Really?
Yeah, I really think he is, honestly.
Okay. Oh, that's big. And now, the timetable of him coming out of Russia, though, that's going to be a while. So it would be more of a patience waiting game.
Yes. Now, the biggest thing to keep in mind is obviously, yes, he's from Russia. But look, here's the merit behind it. And I know that with the invasion of Ukraine and all that and all the politics that are going into that, I know it can be seen as a difficult subject. It was for Ovechkin, too. But the biggest thing for me is the contract stuff. Because even Askarov, don't forget, fans, Askarov had to go through sort of the same thing. He was in the KHL and he had a contract. He had to play out that contract before he came over. Now he's 21. Michkov is 18. So you're hoping maybe it moves a little faster to get Michkov here, but he does have to finish that contract before he comes over here. So that's something you have to kind of think about. And so I know that over in the KHL, once they kind of figure out that, yeah, he's going to be leaving us soon, they don't play him very much. So there's one concern there.
So one guy that you mentioned that if the Predators were to trade up that I really like is this guy out of Michigan, Adam, was it Fantilli?
Fantilli. He's projected to go number 2 to the Ducks.
Oh my gosh. I've actually, I've watched him play.
He's electric.
When he played Michigan State. I mean, you want to talk about a big-time centerman, a forward that can come in and make an immediate impact. I mean, 6'2", 195 pounds. He skates with ease.
Yeah.
He handles the puck like I haven't really seen. And again, that's at the college level. So again, he's playing against lesser talent. But
yeah,
I mean, I look at a guy like that and what Barry Trotz is looking for. And I think that if he traded up and that guy was still sitting there, because we've already seen that Columbus is rumored that they, potentially be willing to move off the number 3 overall pick. If they were to trade up and make a move like that and go get that guy, that's going to put butts in the seats.
And it certainly would. Another guy I like, too, that's projected at 11 in this Tier 3 is Ryan Leonard. Also, he is brother of a current guy that's within the Nashville Predators system as well. So that is something that you could also take a look at is just he's one of the guys out of the U.S. development team. So that is a more intriguing aspect for me, but there are a lot of prospects just to dive into. Now, this first round is going to be loaded. I'm going to tell you right now, it's going to be a lot of forwards taken in the first round. You might see, now there's 32 picks, obviously. Now, my projection has at least 7 defensemen going in the first round, the rest being forwards and actually 1 goaltender, so you can do the math for what that looks like. But there is a plethora of talent. And you cannot go wrong with a few of these guys, like even Brandon Yeager, who's a centerman out of Moose Jaw, which, by the way, Tanner Jeannot was that last guy for Nashville that came out of Moose Jaw undrafted, albeit that's a guy that was very, very good coming out of juniors. So lots to get into here, Junnie.
We're going to continue this conversation, talk about some more prospects, talking about who the Preds could potentially get at 15 and 24 with their 2 first-round picks, talk about who they could potentially move up and get and what that would cost. We are going to get into that conversation next, but coming up on June 28th, speaking of the NHL Draft, at 6 p.m., it's Draft Night in Smashville with Robbie Stanley, Willie Donick, Max Hers, and Chase McCabe, live from Bridgestone Arena for the 2023 NHL Draft. The draft is powered by International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local 429, Electronic Express, and Oil Fire Whiskey. You were listening to Michelle and Junnie here on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
White 85! Every team needs a quarterback.
White 85!
That's why we have
Hasselbeck, bootleg, rollout, toss, touchdown.
Tim.
You can run good plays at the right time.
ESPN NFL analyst Tim Hasselbeck gives his expertise on all things NFL.
You evaluate players, and then you're turning them over to the coaching staff.
Every Tuesday at noon.
At the right time.
With Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace. Tim on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Sometimes you want a sure return on your investment. That's where certificates of deposit, CDs, come into play. At F&M Bank, we've been providing smart choices to customers for over a century, including CDs that are a great way to save. You make a deposit and collect the earnings on your terms. Great rates, predictable results, and backed by the FDIC. That's smart banking. Life is complicated. Banking shouldn't be. MyFMBank.com. Banking made easy on purpose. Member FDIC.
If you missed the latest from Stillman and Company.
Anytime a guy gets picked in the 7th round, I think we can all agree that that is not a guaranteed roster spot. I mean, that the 7th round guy has to earn that spot. It sounds like Colton Dowell has done all the things right so far, and he was a very productive college player. And I do wonder, could he work his way into this group and maybe knock a guy like McMath off the roster?
There's always a chance of that happening. I remember way back when the 49ers, they had a guy out of Virginia Tech that they got in the 6th round by the name of Josh Morgan. And he had an outstanding camp. And next thing you know, he was the number 2/number 1 receiver on the team. And we're talking about a 6th round pick. So it's definitely possible. I think it's just going to take a lot more than what Colton Dowell has done now. He has to stand out.
Stillman and Company, weekdays from 2 to 6 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
3 days of racing, 3 days of music, one huge weekend event. The Big Machine Music City Grand Prix is not just a race or a festival, it's an experience. Multiple music stations with Flo Rida, Vince Neil, Chris Jansen, Gavin DeGraw, and more. Fast cars going over 200 miles an hour. And a family fun zone with inflatables, Ferris wheels, kids games, and kid-friendly food trucks. Tickets and premium hospitality are on sale now. Go to MusicCityGP.com for tickets and get ready to experience Nashville's premier speed and sound event.
Yeah, I'm so stressed. Our business is growing. We've got people all over now.
Ooma.
What is that? Meditation?
I'm recommending the Ooma cloud phone system with auto attendant and more than 50 features.
Ooma?
Yep. Switching to Ooma is a cinch. Just $24.95 per month per user, plus taxes and fees.
Ooma.
Now you're feeling it. Find small business calm at ooma.com/radio. That's OOMA.com/radio.
Want to weigh in on the conversation?
It's a brain booster.
Slide into our DMs. Or just text or call at 615-737-1025. Our phone line is driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. This is Michelle and Junnie.
Well, thank you so much.
Presented by Superbook Sports on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and on the Game Nashville app.
Yeah, I've seen some of the mocks, and I know for on one I've seen Oliver Moore is a real good skating center, potentially going to them at 15. I've obviously seen as you have Brandon Pellica potentially being there at 15. I don't think he lasts all the way to the next pick, but I would imagine based on glancing at the Predators prospect depth chart the other day when we were doing some research and the way that the draft kind of plays out in the middle of the first round, that I think you're right. I think I wouldn't be surprised if we end up seeing a center taken and a defenseman taken with those two picks, provided they keep them. And then it's just going to be a matter of best available on the board at number 15, and that'll kind of light the way probably for that next pick.
That was Greg Wyshynski on Chase and Michelle. I believe that was a question you asked him, Nick.
Yes, it was. Greg was able to field some questions from the reporter. Yeah, it was me. I was sharing the segment with Chase, obviously with Michelle out of town. Now, that was a fun conversation to have with Greg prior to the draft. And Greg will be here. Elliot will be here. It's going to be really fun to get to meet these guys and pick their brains and just hang out with them and see what all happens here. But Junnie, this is going to be a fun draft for a lot of good reasons, but I want to see what the Predators are going to do maybe in terms of trades. Willie thinks after our Take It to the Bank that there's going to be at least one significant trade that involves a defenseman on the Nashville Predators.
Really?
Yeah. So
like as in they're going to trade one of their defensemen or trade to acquire?
He thinks they're going to trade a defenseman from the Predators. He did not go as far as to say who it's going to be, but he said there's going to be a trade that involves a defenseman from the Nashville Predators, essentially. So when I was thinking of it, I was like, I don't know. Like,
could it be a sign and trade with one of the RFAs?
No, I don't think it. Now, here's the thing with those guys. It's a lot more significant to see a better player get a sign and trade.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not trying to say that Cody Glass and Alexander Carrier are not valuable enough to have a sign and trade necessarily.
Not proven enough.
But that's exactly the point. They're not proven enough to have a sign and trade, if you ask me. That's just the truth behind it, is they're not going to have that happen. It's not feasible, nor should it be. What I said in my Take It to the Bank, which is, I think, going to happen, obviously that's why I said it. I hope I'm confident in that. But so I'm saying, because the qualifying offer deadline is 4 p.m. on Friday next week. So by the time you and I are on the air next week, we are going to know whether or not Glass and Carrier are going to either A, go to arbitration, or B, have a qualifying offer from the Predators. Now,
okay,
what I told Willie in my Take It to the Bank was that they will receive a qualifying offer but go to arbitration. Now, going to arbitration doesn't necessarily mean they're going to actually go into the meeting. They could feasibly get this done before the meeting, because you can meet all the way up through August. I don't have the dates in front of me, but all the way through August before training camp in order to get a deal done if you go to arbitration. Now, Yakov Trenin went last year. That was also a player-elected arbitration, which is the time period that we are in now currently. So if that does happen, then we will probably see it before next Friday. Now, what's more intriguing to me, because we're already talking about it, is the matter of what I have gathered. So I have spoken to both Carrier and Glass's agent, and I have figured out, and also spoke to Scott Nickel, and we heard from Barry Trotz too. So with these sources in mind, I'm going to start with what Barry had to say, actually, which I think is very appealing to me based on what I've heard from their agents, respectively. So what Trotz said is, we've been in talks since the end of the season, basically. The asks and the offers are still out there, so we're going to get them done, yada, yada, yada. They've been negotiating this. And obviously, them asking opposed to what the Predators are asking for a deal, they're going to vary right now because they're trying to figure that out. It's a negotiation. They're obviously talking about it. I know that one of the camps, Carrier, doesn't want to talk about this very much right now until a deal is done. But Trotz also said they both have arbitration rights, so that may be a process we end up going with. I left it up to our people to talk to them, and I have talked to them as well. They will get done, and I expect both of them to be part of our group next year. Now, according to the source that I have been talking to for Carrier,
okay,
it does not have the feeling that he will get a deal. However, the thing that is more intriguing to me is, yes, either he'll be given a qualifying offer or he could be traded. So Willie perhaps could be right. They could trade Carrier. Now, that's the name I'm throwing out because of what I know. That doesn't mean that they're going to trade Carrier or they're going to trade someone else. Does not mean that whatsoever. But if Carrier does get a qualifying offer, he'll be owed basically $700,000, close to that $800,000 threshold, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Now, with Glass, this is where I feel like it's going to get done. A few weeks ago, his camp was telling me that, hey, we're having preliminary conversations. This definitely proves that they have been talking for a few weeks.
Yeah,
absolutely has been proving
because if you're talking to me, Glass definitely holds priority over Carrier.
Yes.
And even though Carrier looked really great, not this past season, but the season prior.
Yes, 30 points.
Injuries have definitely kind of halted his production and for him taking that next step.
Right, and missing 39 games this year does not help Carrier whatsoever.
I mean, that's basically half the season.
It does not help him whatsoever. I feel for him. I understand that being hurt is going to put a damper on this in all facets, as it does Ryan Johansson, but that's another case. So the Predators' 24-year-old centerman, for me, obviously, he scored 14 goals and 35 points in 72 games. He definitely deserves a contract, if you ask me, whether it's arbitration one or if it's a multi-year deal before this gets done. That's yet to be seen, but that's the way it's probably going to go. As far as Carrier goes, I think here's the most likely thing for me, and I'll say this right now before we end up talking about it next week, is I firmly believe that Carrier will get a qualifying offer, as will Glass. Now, whether he goes to arbitration, Trotz feels pretty confident, they're going to be part of our team next year. I think Glass gets the deal. I think Carrier's the guy that will go to arbitration solely based on his agent going to bat for him. Mm-hmm. That's firmly what I think.
Well, so in my opinion, I feel like the Preds hold all the leverage when it comes to
Alexander Carrier. Oh, 100% they do. And what makes it even better for Trotz is he can be patient with Carrier. He can give him the qualifying offer and wait it out and make sure that, okay, this is enough for one more year.
But why wouldn't Carrier want to do something like Dante Fabro and just take like a
that's
prove-it
on the
deal?
Preds. That's on the Predators to decide that. And I think because he missed so much time, he wanted to see maybe how the team felt. If that was me as a defenseman, I get hurt, I'm down on myself, I have to think about that too.
But going into this last season, if it was a conversation between Dante Fabro and Alexander Carrier, I think majority people would take Carrier all day long.
I probably would have at the time too after a 30-point season. Absolutely. Being hurt this year did not help him, and the consistent playing time didn't as well. Out of the 10 guys that are arbitration eligible too, just so I can get this out there, only 8 of them are basically going to have contracts next year from what I've gathered. Goaltender Thomas Vamaka, he's going home to the Czech Republic. He'll wait and see if he gets another deal, if he's tendered or not. And basically from that standpoint, the Preds have a very open line of what's going to happen, because what Scott Nickel was basically explaining to me was we don't want to be at 50 contracts. We want to evaluate who we're going to bring back, what merit do they bring essentially to our plan. So the Preds have a lot of open doors right now, Junnie, and that's the most exciting thing for all of this, is there's a lot of doors open.
615-737-1025 is our phone and text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Text or call your opinions on this Predators offseason, the draft. We are going to continue this offseason conversation with some of the RFAs, with UC Saros in particular, and also talking about the draft and the prospect. You're listening to Michelle and Junnie with Nick Keyser and Junnie Riddle here on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
Stuck at work without a radio?
Wait a minute. Disastrous.
I hate that.
It's got to be there.
That's okay. Download the Game Nashville app or go to theGameNashville.com and listen live. We are Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
The Electronic Express 4th of July sale is here. Celebrate with up to 40% off in every department. Don't miss an LG 75-inch 4K TV for only $699 or an Amana laundry pair for just $399 each. Get huge savings on computers, appliances, 4K TVs, smart home, furniture and mattresses, and more. Get an Asus laptop for only $599 or a Napoleon Freestyle grill for $549. Get up to 3 years free financing throughout the entire store. Electronic Express. We make it happen.
Because we work so hard for our customers, people are driving for hours to shop at Genesis Diamonds right now, taking advantage of the lowest interest rate on the planet. 0 interest for 5 years with nothing down. How about a $6,000 GIA certified diamond for just $100 a month? Pear shapes, rounds, even oval diamonds are all included. You can even finance the sales tax. All designer jewelry and all lab-grown diamonds included. Don't miss this amazing opportunity. 5 years, 0 interest financing, exclusively at Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs. Approved credit, see store for details.
Men, this is Evan Bass for the Tennessee Men's Clinic. If you're suffering with erectile dysfunction or other sexual health issues, you need to know that there is no one-size-fits-all treatment, because everyone's made differently. That's why our urologists and medical providers offer a broader array of treatment options and can even combine or adjust treatments for greater effectiveness. ED can result from aging, low testosterone, prostate issues, underlying medical conditions, and more. And understanding why you have ED is the first step in treating the condition. That's why you need to know your numbers and understand what other factors might be contributing, and then work with an expert to treat it. And that's where we shine. At the Tennessee Men's Clinic, we have protocols that are effective in nearly 90% of cases, which means we'll likely find the right treatment for you and you can get your sex life back. So call us. Your first appointment includes blood work and a medical consult. Call 615-208-9090 or go to TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. We have 2 offices to serve you, Midtown and Franklin.
Visit our website to learn more, including side effects. Treatments extra, results vary.
The NHL Awards and NHL Draft are coming soon to the Music City. Join us live June 26th through 29th at Bridgestone Arena as we'll have you covered from the red carpet and the draft floor as the stars of tomorrow join the quest for Lord Stanley's Cup. We are your home for Smashville. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. This is Michelle and Junie.
Really? That's fantastic.
Presented by Superbook Sports on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and on the Game Nashville app.
Welcome back into Michelle and Junie. Nick Keyser filling in for Michelle Knesvik, getting back into the Preds prospects. NHL Draft is in Smashville this week. Super exciting. 13 picks for the Nashville Predators, who are in the middle of, I wouldn't say a rebuild.
No.
But a little bit more of a retool, kind of turning the tide, getting out some of these older veterans, these big-time contracts. So it's exciting. This is an exciting draft.
Now, this is not far-fetched to say, Junie.
Okay.
This is probably the biggest draft in Predators history. Now, what's cool for all the listeners out there, I think it's cool from my perspective too, it is a very, very big full-circle moment for this franchise in this city. Barry Trotz, the first coach. David Poile, first GM. First draft, all that stuff. David Legwand was the first pick. He'll be here, actually, which is cool. We'll be having some interviews with a lot of alumni, so stay tuned for all that this week. But the reason I'm bringing it up is this is monstrous. Like, it's so huge. And you've got Barry Trotz with Poile making these picks. You're also going to see Pekka Rinne and Roman Josi announce the second pick, whichever that's going to be for the Predators.
That's going to be awesome.
So that's going to be cool to see them up on the stage, announce that pick, whatever it's going to be. So, but it's a full circle moment because it's keeping the grassroots green. And that's what is really unique about this franchise is they have gone back to their trusted leaders over the course of time, and they've gone through that. Now, Junie, I posed this to you during the break, and I'm going to give you my picks, but I would love to see what you would do with no trades involved. There's an asterisk here.
Mm-hmm.
With no trades involved, who would the Predators take at 15 and 24? So starting at 15, you're on the clock. You kind of think about it for a few moments, maybe take a few trade offers, and you go, no, I'm going to stand pat. I like what I have on my board. That's it. So who are you taking at 15?
So I have done a bunch of I genuinely have done a decent amount of research because when it comes to the NFL draft, you know me.
Yeah.
Like I know my prospects
devoted
going up to like the 4th and 5th round. Like I genuinely know majority of those guys.
Right.
You're the NHL guy. So
right.
I'm trying to keep pace with you here. But I looked at a bunch of mock drafts. I looked at the prospect. I looked at the article that you sent me.
Okay.
And I think I want to go with a guy that is in a mock draft that I found on my NHLdraft.com for the Preds.
Mm-hmm.
And I like this fit because it's not something that a lot of people are talking about. And it's Axel Sandin. What is it? Pelikas? Pelikas?
Yeah.
So he's a defender out of the SHL. In 31 games last year, he had 36 points, and he is seen as the best blue line skater and offensive player. And they said his upside could be a really good point on the power play.
Yes.
And so I look at this, and I look at the way that the Predators want to play under Andrew Brunette, and the unknowns with the blue line for the Predators. And the future with a guy like a Tyson Barrie, if they're not going to hang on to a veteran like Tyson Barrie and want to save some money,
sure,
maybe a guy like this to put in your prospect pool would be a good fit as a defenseman to boast the blue line, because everybody's thinking the Preds are wanting to go center or right wing and go get that big forward that they can't. I think they surprise. I think they go with this kid, Axel. He may or may not be there.
Okay.
I've seen him in some mock drafts in the top 10, 11 range. Some of them he falls to 17 or 18.
Right.
But I think that if he's there, I feel like he could be a good potential fit for what the Predators want to do.
Absolutely. Now, out of all these tiers that I sent you, he's at 16, so if you base it purely on that, he certainly could be available. Now, that's obviously how other teams are thinking, but I'm really curious to see where you go next here. So the Preds will pick again at 24 right now. Like I said, Roman Josi and Pecorine will be the ones announcing the pick, whichever second pick that's going to eventually be. But who are they going to call, Junnie?
So with the second pick, and it's the 24th pick in the first round.
Correct, currently.
Another guy that I was seeing getting mocked in various different places. I mean, some of which this guy's not even in the first round. In another mock draft, I saw him in the top 10.
Mm-hmm.
So this guy's all over the place. But what did Barry Trotz say? He wants to take big shots. He wants to look at intangibles. He wants to look at traits that this team could potentially develop. They're not taking your average Joe that they know that they could just throw in the lineup and is going to be serviceable. They want high-end guys. So the guy I'm looking at, and for this narrative in the article that you sent me, he's the 25th prospect on the list, and it's Samuel Honzik.
Okay.
Am I saying that right?
That's probably the best way to say it.
Samuel Honzik, and he played in the WHAL last year for the Vancouver Giants, and he had 56 points in 45 games.
Yeah, he's a big boy too.
He's big. He's 6'3". He's 186 pounds, so he's got like an NHL frame on him.
Yeah.
So he's got the size. He's got the scoring capability. Don't know all the ins and outs on him, but when I look at him and I'm seeing him, in some mock drafts going in the top 10, some mock drafts kind of falling a bit, he seems like the kind of guy that Barry Trotz would be like, okay, if he's here at 24, we already got our first-round pick on a guy that we know is likely going to be a serviceable defenseman in an area of need.
Right.
So we just got done talking about Carrier in the restricted free agents. This guy getting put in the prospect pool, being I believe he's a left winger. He is a left winger, and just his pure size and skating capability, I think they have him as a top 10 skater ranked in this draft as well.
Yeah, and he's a Slovak too, so keep that in mind. He'll be another guy out of Europe that would be joining the Nashville Predators. And the way I would look at this as for a comp, now he's nowhere near the same size as this guy, but maybe brings the same type of dynamic from all the devoted Preds fans from over the years. Now, there could be a different opinion on this, but from what I'm gathering in my own head currently, the way that it sounds like he plays like this guy, I would say he's kind of like Scott Hartnell maybe.
Okay.
Because Scott Hartnell was the gritty guy, but it sounds like that this young fella, Samuel, could definitely be someone that brings more goal-scoring capability. He can move the puck well. He's got good skills with this stick, and he can, use his feet in good situations. And I think what's cool is that he was an underager in his category of joining his home country skating in these tournaments, and he was trying to make a splash and a good name for himself. So that's a good appealing pick for me, and I'll do these a little bit quicker. So for me, if I'm picking at 14 and I'm taking a look at who would be available around that time frame, and I know looking at the tiers, things can change, things can, be traded essentially. And so I would firmly believe if you want to take a look at maybe adding a centerman out of the gates, I would add Oliver Moore based on the merit that he was able to do with the U.S. National Development Team. Dan Muse was one of the guys that coached the IIHF World Tournament. He could perhaps be a good guy that you could look at for some insight. He just got hired by the Rangers, but he's a guy that coached him at some point in time. So I like him. I know he's a tier 3 guy, but where the Predators are currently, you have to think about it that way. You have to think, okay, they're at 15. But then if you go down to 14, I'm at 24, excuse me, I'm going to be taking a defenseman, and I do like Axel Sandin. I hope that he would be available at 24 possibly, depending on how the board falls.
I just don't think
I don't think
he
he will either. I think he'll go to a team like Detroit, or he'll go to someone that needs some defense. You hope that there's a trade made possibly. But if you want to ask me who I would take Tom Willander, because he's another right-handed shot. So if you don't get your guy, and Axel Sandin, you could still get another right-handed shot in Tom. He also played over in, it looks like, the Junior 20 League. So he is a little bit of he's younger. So he's from the under 20 league. So that's a little more interesting to me. Now, what's cool to me, and under his bio, he plays the game with an intentionality that is rare in players his age. He's an 05. He was born in February, so you'd have to give him more time to cook in the minors, as Barry Trotz said. That's what I would feel like. He could also be more like a similar case to a Matthias Ekholm that maybe needed to take more time, go home, play in your biggest league over there, and move from that standpoint. But I would be very shocked if they took like a defenseman then a forward, but I do think they're going to do forward defense in some kind of order in the first round. They could also go forward. I don't think it'll be D&D, but they could go forward here in the first round. And I would be very curious after Barry Trotz came on yesterday. I get the vibe that there is very much a trade that could be on the table to move up in the top 5 possibly.
Really?
Now, the aspirations he has for the franchise, just based on what he has said to the media, it sounds to me like the big swings, he's going to try to help his scouts out a lot. And we do have a texter that asked at 10:30 earlier that said, do you think the Preds will trade for Alex DeBrincat? I do not think the Preds will trade for DeBrincat. They would get his negotiating rights as an RFA if they traded for him. So you have to consider that. If he's traded, it could come after the draft. But if there's a bigger team in mind prior to the draft, you could see it the night before. You could see it at the draft table. He could get traded during that point. But I think if you see the Predators exhaust a pick or two, I don't think they would go for him. There's always a trade on the table until it happens. But I just don't think it'll happen.
So my last question for you. Do you think that if the Predators move into the top 5 that the trade package has to include a UC Saros? Is that the only way they get into the top 5?
I don't think it has to include him.
But in this year's draft where the talent is better than we've seen in a long time, depth-wise, what would it take?
I think it would definitely cost maybe the 2 picks you currently own, possibly. Now, the way that you could keep like a 24 maybe is you could package your 24th pick, maybe one of those defensemen that Willie's talking about. Carrier's not going to get it done. It's just not. But if you package in someone like a Tyson Barrie, and maybe you throw in a prospect that maybe you could replace in this draft, I don't know who I would list just for time's sake. But I think that could be a package. So you would do 24, a defenseman like Tyson Barrie maybe, and a prospect for maybe a top 6, 8 pick, something like that. And within the top 10. So think about it that way.
Interesting stuff. Listen, we're going to know a lot more next Saturday as the NHL draft kicks off on Wednesday, June 28th, right at Bridgestone Arena. Just go down there. I mean, it's going to be a big block party there on Broadway that the Predators are putting on. So we are going to definitely be keeping our eyes on that. But coming up next, we're going to be wrapping up this weekend show with our best bets. We got College World Series. We got some Nashville SC. Fraser's going to be back with his parlay, and we also have the Ally 400. I don't know if any of us really know much about racing, but we're definitely going to throw out a pick for the Ally 400 this weekend. You're listening to Michelle and Junnie here on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
Insightful discussion.
When we talk about the person that these players are.
3 goals scored in the first 5 minutes.
He wants to be the starter, day one.
Mixed with spirited debate.
Okay, but Derek, let's Professor Derek.
They are Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace. With Caroline Fenton, Willie Donick, and former NFL wide receiver Derek Mason.
We got the whole thing covered. We got it all covered.
Here.
Weekdays at 11 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Krebs Kubota wants to help you get your job done right with the parts you need and a service department that can handle maintenance and repairs from the largest excavator to the smallest two-cycle engine. For your farm, home, or commercial needs, Krebs Kubota will keep your Kubota running like a Kubota. Krebs Kubota, Middle Tennessee's preferred equipment dealer, with convenient locations in Columbia, Franklin, and Murfreesboro. Also online at KrebsKubota.com.
It's happening. Social Furniture's Hot Buy sale is going on now. You'll find your dream furniture on sale now for our best prices of the year. Sofas, sectionals, recliners, bedroom sets, mattresses, dinettes, and more are all on sale. Social Furniture has one of the largest selections of in-stock furniture in Middle Tennessee, ready for delivery today. Buy now and pay later, interest-free. No credit needed. Find Hot Buys in every department. Hurry into Social Furniture today. Social Furniture, 5412 Charlotte Avenue on the west side.
Buffalo Bill's Center of the West in Cody, Wyoming welcomes you as you enter Yellowstone Park's east entrance. 5 museums in one and the greatest firearms museum anywhere. Welcome to the West. Buffalo Bill's Center of the West, Cody, Wyoming.
If you missed the latest from Stillman and Company.
Trevor Maddich joins us, ESPN.
The Titans had the ball third down, up 16-13, and Dobbs gets sacked, fumble, return for a touchdown, right? And that's the difference in the game. 3 minutes to go, and that was the difference with Josh Dobbs at quarterback. So, anybody that says, the second half of the playoff game against the Chargers means that Trevor Lawrence is amazing and he's coming around. No, he threw 4 picks in the first half. Who is that guy right now? I don't know yet. I just think that the way the Titans are built, I think they're going to win the division. So if you can have a material upgrade in your wide receiver room, even if it's temporary, because the free agent that you sign is not all in your estimation, but at least he's here, and it does make you better, and we think we can win the division, I think you do it.
Stillman and Company, weekdays from 2 to 6 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
94.9 The Fan is your home for Hit City.
Your Nashville Sounds continue their 6-game series at First Horizon Park tonight against Norfolk. Swing and a miss, strike 3. Sounds win. Pre-game at 6:20.
On your home of Nashville Sounds baseball. 94.9 The Fan and The Fan app.
This is Michelle and Junnie.
Well, thank you so much.
Presented by Superbook Sports on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and on the Game Nashville app.
Here we go. Money talk.
Here comes the money. Money, money, money.
Dollar, dollar. Dollar, dollar. Ching, ching, bling, bling.
Michelle and Junnie Riddle, Nick Keyser in for Michelle Knezovic. You're listening to Shane Max entrance music, and you know what that means. That means it's time for our betting segment for the weekend that we always get into to wrap up our show. So, fellas, let's kick it off. LSU, Florida, SEC bout for the 2023 College World Series Final. All right? Mm-hmm. Right now, Florida is favored today.
Yep.
With a 6:06 p.m. first pitch.
Yeah.
Florida is favored by 1.5. The over-under is 9 runs.
Wow. 9.
I am going to go, and I'm going to lay out how I think the series is going to go as well. I'm going to go Florida tonight.
Okay.
I'm going to go under on runs this evening.
Mm-hmm.
But I think LSU wins the next 2 and wins the whole thing. So I'm going Florida tonight. I think Florida, they got extra rest, so I think they're going to come out with their ace. I don't necessarily know who's pitching for them this evening. I think they're going with their ace pitcher tonight. And I think they win game 1, LSU wins the next 2 and wins the national championship.
Yeah.
That's my prediction.
So I do think it's going to take 3 games. I kind of like the prediction that we talked about on Friday on Caroline Willie and D-Mace. And I tend to agree that I feel like LSU will win the first game. It's going to be close. And then the second game, I feel like this might be a little different from how we were thinking yesterday. But I feel like we will see a blowout win from Florida. I feel like they'll bounce back and they'll put a stamp on it. And then I feel like it's going to be a really close game again with LSU in game 3. Now, as far as the game goes for game 1, I already laid it out. I'm going to take LSU. I'm going to take I will definitely take the under. I think that's the most appealing thing for me. If it's anything like the Wake Forest series, to start at least, I'm definitely taking the under. Now, our man behind the glass can give us his pick for sure now here too. Frazier, what are you thinking about this series to start at least?
Overall, the series, I'm going to take LSU. It is at almost plus money at minus 105 where I have it. Overall, I think Junnie's right. I think Florida does come out guns a-blazing tonight, but I think LSU comes out and wins this game. Game 1 sets the tone. Game 2, Florida wins. And Game 3, LSU just closes it out. But as for tonight, I will be taking the under as well. I made a score prediction on Robbie and Rex Road, 5-3 with 2 home runs. It was my called shot for the Fridays, so we'll see how that plays out.
Okay. Now, as far as maybe some NASCAR action, is that what we're going into next, or are we going to go somewhere else first?
We can definitely go to the Ally 400. I was going to say on this that they are going with their ace pitcher, Jack Caglianone? Is that how you say it?
I think that's close enough.
Jack Caglianone?
I'd probably say Catalone, maybe.
Catalone?
Or something like that, but Caglianone, that might be somewhere in the ballpark.
Sure enough, whatever. I didn't know how to say Paul Skeen's name last week. Like I said, I'm new to baseball. I can do the hockey, I can do the football, the basketball. Baseball's just not my thing.
Sure.
All right.
That's
so
okay.
I think, like I said, Florida with their ace pitcher tonight, going up against LSU. And also, do we think Skeens? Is he going to play? In one of these games, if they go to a game 3, would he be able to play on Monday?
I think so. Yeah.
Would they throw him out there for a game 3?
You have to.
Yeah. Either they'd throw him out there or at least put him as like a middle relief pitcher or something like that.
You have to.
I mean, if you start him, I mean, yeah, you might have a little bit of arm fatigue, but you got to remember all these guys have futures after this.
Yeah, no, I was saying Skeen's going to be either 1 or 2 in the draft. I didn't know how much he pitched the other night. How many pitches he ended up tallying up?
I think
120.
I was going to say it was a little over 100. Yeah,
which is kind of absurd. Like
maybe like what you said, they might use him as a relief pitcher, so that way that number's a little bit down. But anyway, they got to get him involved.
Oh, most certainly.
But either way, we're going to go over to the Ally 400. That is tomorrow. They do not have odds out here on Superbook Sport as of yet.
Get it together.
But, well, you know how racing is. Things change. Somebody's motor blows up or something. And, I don't know. They're not out yet. So, Chase Elliott won last year.
Yep.
He is one of the top 5, top 6 favorites to win. I'm going to go Denny Hamlin.
Okay. Interesting.
I think Denny Hamlin, I don't know why. I got a feeling.
You just have a feeling. All right. I'm going to go Kyle Larson. I think he's been on the up as of late. I think that would be fun. That would be fun to watch him play. I'll give you a different name now, too. I was taking a look at some of the names and doing a little bit of research on some of these racers, and I think another guy that I like maybe as more of a dark horse would be Joey Logano. I mean, the amount of racing I've heard at times just driving around in Nashville, turning on our station on the weekend, I know, and even last year, I thought he was a pretty aggressive driver. I like his style, so that would be the most appealing thing to me. But shout out to our boy Chase. He's going to be the PA like I was saying, and also happy birthday to him.
Yeah, happy birthday to Chase.
So just a quick shout out to him for that. And just remember, Chase, I have to throw this out there. It's the best sport that there is, plain and simple, and I know NASCAR will always wake up and piss excellence. So look, a little bit of Step Brothers vibe here to the morning show.
That's Talladega Nights.
Yes, but it's the same crew for Talladega Nights. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. But look, man, I think just whether it be praying to baby Jesus or whoever it is out there in
baby Jesus.
Wilson County, have fun out there this weekend. It's going to be awesome. I'm so excited to see what that's like out there. And remember, you got to chew Big Red. Please chew Big Red in the sake of Ricky Bobby. But, Frazier, who are you going to take in this race?
I am looking here, and something's just speaking to me. I don't know why. Ross Chastain, plus 800. I love it.
Ross Chastain.
You know, being here on the weekends and producing from time to time and, doing a lot of NASCAR, I hear the name Ross Chastain a lot.
So maybe he just needs to not drive with his eyes. You need to drive with his heart, right?
Exactly. Drive with your heart.
So yeah, I picked Denny Hamlin because that's like the one name
I just wonder who's going to
recognize.
drive like they have a Cougar in their car. That's what I really want.
Oh my God. Okay, enough with the Talladega Nights.
I was about to
Nick.
ask, how many times can he make a Talladega Nights
I have
reference?
seen
That's
that
like
so
four.
many times.
Four in 30 seconds.
4 times in a segment. Like that's got to be a record for movie references. Even Joe Rexroth couldn't do something like that.
Yeah, well, at least I'm not a Lions fan.
I will say this, okay? I'm going to give an individual pick today. If anybody wants some easy money, go over to the WNBA.
All right.
My team,
Okay.
the Indiana Fever, are going up against the Las Vegas Aces, the best team in the WNBA. The last time these two teams played, the spread was 14.5 points, and the Fever led the entire way till the final minute and choked it away by 3. The spread is even higher, and the Fever have been on a roll as of late. It is 15 plus 15.5 points. It is the easiest money you will win today. Bet the Fever on the points, and honestly, I would dabble a little bit on money line because they damn near beat the Las Vegas Aces last time.
So
bet some money on the Fever.
All right, Frazier, I don't have it pulled up. Can you give me the odds for the NSC game, and then I'll tee us up for it?
It's not great. Let me put it
Oh,
there. Columbus
it's
Crew
not.
minus 120 on the money line, and Nashville SC plus 270.
What is the over-under on the goals this evening, my good sir?
I believe it's at 2.5. That's kind of where the sweet money is, but
okay.
Yeah, I don't know.
So I know this is a big rivalry game, and I am very in tune with the franchise and this fan base. It's been fun to go to games. I was at last week's game against St. Louis City FC, which, by the way, has too many letters to it. I don't like that whatsoever.
That was the best game of the season, by the way.
Oh, it was 100% the best game. That was a phenomenal game to be at. Hani Mukhtar just owned it the entire time. But real quick, I will probably go the other way with Columbus. I love my NSC guys, Frazier. I have taken them week after week after week, but like you said, it's going to be a tough game. Who do you have?
Well, tonight, obviously, Lucas McNaughton is questionable. Teal Bunbury, Nick DePoy, Anibal Godoy, Fafa Pico, and Jacob Schaffelberger are all out.
And mainly the only big guy that's in the lineup is Hani, probably.
Correct.
Because a lot of guys like Schaff got sent away.
Yeah,
so.
they're out international duty. So
Yeah.
I'm going to go for a draw just to play it safe. I do think it'll be like a 1-1, maybe a 2-2 draw if max. But if I had to do a small parlay, it's Columbus Crew plus or -1 on the corner spread, and then over 1.5 goals plus
Okay,
155.
there you go.
That's
Perfect.
it.
I'm gonna go Columbus Crew as well. I just think them being on the road, especially the way Columbus played defensively the last time these guys played in Nashville, I think they're going to be looking for some revenge. I'm going a score prediction too, 2-1. 2-1. So take the over on total goals. I think Columbus wins this game 2-1. It's going to be pretty intense, but like you said, too many injuries, too many guys out for Nashville SC. But that is a wrap. Make some money with some of the picks that we got today. Probably don't listen to our NASCAR takes, but everything else, I think you could easily win some money this week. Great show today, Nick and Nick. You've been listening to